Welcome again. Welcome again to all of you here in Bonn. I hope it's not too chilly for you. Wonderful. May I bring your attention to the stage, please? Find a seat. Excellencies, high-level guests from Germany, but of course from many partner countries, from South Africa, from Tanzania, from Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome also to our guests in the live stream. But welcome to all of you. I know there is so much to talk on, but may I bring your attention here on stage to start into our wonderful, thank you. Let's start into our high-level launch event of the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative Foundation with the motto and the overall theme of enabling utilities for succeed and making a major step forward for sustainable urban water management and for bringing sustainability forward through improved financial performance. We will dive into different perspectives in a second. My name is Katie Gallos. I'm very honored to guide you through this very special high-level event with the guiding question on how can we enable water utilities to succeed and how can we improve financial performance of water utilities. And for that, I kindly invite you not to check your mails on your phone now, but to scan, I know that's, you know what I mean. You can take photos, that's the deal, and you can scan this QR code. I'm sliding to the side, so you have a free shot. And with that QR code, you will be directed to a digital platform with the question, and this is where you're coming in. We need your thoughts, your perspective, from your experience. What are preconditions for water utilities to improve their performance towards economic, social, and ecological sustainability? I know that's a tough one to bring down in one word. Not a sentence, ladies and gentlemen. Use a hashtag, okay? Here we go. And as we can see, some words are already coming in. Good corporate governance. Ooh, bring it in. Is this our to-do list? It's leadership. That's a big one. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I cannot read that fast. Trust. So it's building up entrepreneurship, experienced and skilled staff. But leadership stays in the center. What's coming up next? Keep it coming, because of course this will guide us also through the session. Wonderful. Skills is getting bigger and bigger as well, enabling environments. So you can see there is, of course, a lot to do. Thank you for sharing your experiences. This is why we're all here for, to bring different perspectives and, of course, to bring in your perspectives here into the conference as well. You can still keep them going, and then we collect them later on as well. To start now into our high-level event, it's a pleasure to welcome her on stage. She's the UN Envoy for Water of the United Nations, so please give her a round of applause. Ms. Redno Massoudi. I'd like to kick off the session with you, of course, with a little question, because you are the voice of water, so to say. And take us with you. How do you view the journey of water from global framework to local impact? And what can you share with us as priorities that you see?
All right. So let me try to answer with my presentation. But by the way, thank you very much for the question. This is very important to make what is discussing at global level and then put it down on the ground. Because sometimes as diplomat, we are talking too much. We talk again and again. So when it comes to the implementation, then we see none of the implementation. So that is what I like about this event. And there are two words that is very strong coming from this event. Number one is about solidarity. Number two is about action, because action is very important. And the launch of this initiative is a concrete step to fulfill the promise of access to water and sanitation for all. So let me start by underlining why this initiative is very important. And at least I tried to offer you three answers. Number one, it challenges the traditional paradigm that water is only government business. Well, it's true that most of the investment still coming from the government, but we try to shift this paradigm. So my number one answer, as I mentioned to you, it challenges the traditional paradigm that water is only government business. It opens doors and creates space for everyone, private sectors, academic, civil society, and many more, to be active and constructive supporter to the provision of water and sanitation services to the people. My second answer is it demonstrates strong vision that investment in water and sanitation is not merely a cost, but it is also a good investment. And it shows that investment in water and sanitation yield, can I say high return? It yield return, sufficient return, maybe that's the correct one, especially in social development as well as sustainable economic growth. And my third answer is it presents us a promising recipe to ensure that water and sanitation for all with a climate-resilient mindset by combining financial support and long-term support in capacity development for water and sanitation actors. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this initiative brings light and gives hopes to the international community that cooperation is still the best and only path to overcome the crisis we face. So the important word here is cooperation, especially in water and sanitation. A win-win approach, not a zero-sum, is the only possible way out to achieve a world where sustainable development benefits all. Therefore, in the years ahead, it is important for us to make sure that the initiative delivers well and fulfill its mission of benefiting people and communities. So, allow me also to emphasize another three important points. First, maintain focus to the people and what they need. I always mention it in everywhere I go, including in this morning session, about the need to focus on the people and what they need. While the business process of the initiative focus on investment and utility process, it must not lose sight on the actual and pressing needs of the people and community. People remains the main beneficiaries of water and sanitation project. So successful water and sanitation projects are the ones who benefits the dearly felt by the people. Second, pursue multiplied impacts in other aspects of development. I also mentioned in the morning session, I'm sure that women empowerment, health and well-being, quality education, and many other aspects of development will also benefit by this initiative. And last, use the initiative as an opportunity of advocacy. This initiative should create a success story that inspires and scale up more success story. And most importantly, this initiative will give evidence that international cooperation and partnership works and delivers. This is amidst, this current situation in the world. So, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, with this spirit, not only the initiative will shift paradigm of work and collaboration in water and sanitation sector, but it also gives proofs of the true meaning and impacts of international cooperation. And once again, I congratulate the Germany and all supporting partners for the launch of this initiative. And I do hope that this brief presentation responded to your answer. And once again, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rino Masoudi. What a wonderful start. And now for the political contextualization, I'm thrilled to welcome here on stage State Secretary in the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, Niels Annen.
So I was waiting for the term giving speeches to pop up on the screen, but it did not. But anyway, I'm back here, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for, again, bringing us up to date on the situation of clean water and sanitation. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, clean water and sanitation services are at the foundation of all life, of dignity, of healthy ecosystems, and sustainable economic development. So providing clean water and sanitation services requires strong, independent water utilities. We already mentioned the fact in the opening session. Because supplying water is about more than just building pipes. No one, I think, understands that better than those of you here in the room, whether in Kenya or Indonesia, in Colombia or Germany. And one very famous water utility was already mentioned, where briefly our parliament has had a seat. We actually do have 2 seats of the German parliament here and another one in Berlin. But whether in our partner countries or in Germany, utilities around the world face many challenges, ensuring consistently safe water quality everywhere and for everybody. I think, speaking as a German to you, we sometimes take that a little too much for granted. And these kind of meetings is also a reminder about what we have been achieving here, and that we have a responsibility to share with our partners. Managing technical issues related to specific infrastructure, such as water loss due pipe leaks or clogged pumps, is important to address. Attracting and retaining skilled employees, a crucial question for the long-term investment we all are looking at. Operating on a cost coverage basis with regulated water tariffs so that water is affordable, and securing financing into and investment into new and sustainable infrastructure, and to maintain existing assets. That aspect, maintain existing assets, is also crucial. Committing to the goal of clean water and sanitation for all means committing to tackling these concrete challenges. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly the commitment that Germany has made. In 2023, Germany and its partners founded the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative at the UN 2023 Water Conference under the UN Water Action Agenda. And this initiative provides water and utilities with tailored support to address these challenges, be it in Egypt or in Tanzania. UWCI equips utilities with the tool they need to operate sustainably. It supports them in providing their performance to make water affordable by reducing water loss. For example, utilities are able to lower operating costs and those prices, benefiting low-income customers in particular. It supports them in achieving financial independence and operating with economic efficiency. In Kahama in Tanzania, for example, saving of up to 330,000 euros a year were achieved by optimizing the use of chlorine during the water treatment process. and their support in meeting environmental standards. Utilities implement a risk management system to minimize environmental impact, for example. This comprehensive approach strengthens the ability of water utilities to deliver reliable services. It also helps to mobilize public and private financing, because when performance improves, utility companies become more creditworthy and can gain easier access to commercial loans for their investment. By addressing these critical pillars, UWCI ensures that utilities are better prepared to meet the growing demand of urban populations and that they contribute to the global sustainability development and climate goals. I am therefore delighted to announce the next milestone of this initiative here at WOPA. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we officially launching the UWCI Foundation as an implementing entity. 7 water utilities from Colombia, Tanzania, Kenya, Egypt, and Indonesia have already undergone the contracting process. And I am glad to see that there are representatives here at this Congress today. The utilities had to apply and were selected to join the initiative based on their willingness to reform and to improve performance. In the coming years, they will receive tailored support across all levels that we mentioned, from top management to technical divisions. Unlike traditional project-based financing, this comprehensive long-term approach, as the question of long-term investment has been raised in the opening session, I wanted to underline that, will assist utilities in achieving sustainable financial independence. Technical and financial support will be integrated and aligned with the corporate business plans of the utilities over a period of 3 to 5 years. This includes mobilizing know-how through utility partnerships with water operators in Germany, in Europe, and elsewhere. Thanks to this structure and its long-term perspectives, I believe the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative is well positioned to make a meaningful difference for its partners, utilities, and beyond. In times of global instability and tightening development budgets, it is important, and it's maybe more important than ever, to support water utilities as key entities within society and to enable them to become financially independent. The Foundation contributes precisely to this by empowering water utilities around the world. Designed to operate independently and supported by multilateral funding, the initiative aims to drive lasting change in the water sector. Additional funding can amplify this impact. Ladies and gentlemen, to ensure strategic alignment and strengthen its links with the wider global discourse, the initiative is guided by a dedicated sounding board. This advisory body connects the initiative to international discussions on water, finance, sustainability, and climate. The board brings together experts and stakeholders from civil society, the private sector, financing institutions, and network organization. Many of those are also here in Bonn today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now look forward hearing the insights and the experience of our panelists. How do you think we can jointly address the challenges in the urban water sector? What recommendations do you have for developing the work of the Urban Catalyst initiatives? And I'm sure there are much more inputs that you can give us and to enrich our discussion. So thank you again very much.
Thank you, State Secretary Niels Annen. And with that, I welcome my panelists. Join me on stage, and then we use a moment to introduce you in a proper way. Please join me, Ms. Tembi Similane, Mr. Exaudi Fatel Maro, Ms. Sarin Malek, Sitzke Grönewold, and last but not least, Sabine Siebler. here for taking photos. Taking photos now? Yes? Great. No, wonderful. Thank you to all of you for making time, of course, in your busy calendars and schedules. We have Ms. Tembi Similane with us. She's the Minister of Human Settlements and Acting Minister of Water and Sanitation, joining us from South Africa. We have Sitske Groenewold with us. She's the Head of Impact Investing, coming from Cardano Asset Management. We have Ms. Sareen Malik, Executive Secretary of the African Civil Society Network on Water and Sanitation, representing here the voice of the civil society. We have Mr. Exaudi Fatal Maro. He's the Director of Water and Sanitation, Energy and Water Utilities Regulatory Authority, joining us from beautiful Tanzania. And last but absolutely not least, we do have Sabine Siebler with us, the Director, German African Partnerships for Water and Sanitation at the German Water Partnerships. Welcome, Sabine. Yes, we'd like to spend some minutes here, of course, to learn from you, to hear your perspective. Also, what, of course, gives you maybe a little bit of a headache, what we need to work on, and what you have as a to-do. No worries. No worries, all good. I would love to start with you, Minister. So when we hear the news, of course, about South Africa, and some years ago, the cities in South Africa, and particularly, of course, Cape Town, they were close to a so-called day zero, right? They ran almost out of water. I think it's already switched on. But let me know, what are your major learnings from that day zero and this running out of water?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to colleagues. Greetings from South Africa, and really greetings on behalf of the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mayor Pemi Majodina, who I'm acting on her behalf. I can just give you a message of strength and hope that she's regaining her health very well. And I'm certain that in the next sessions, she'll be back in this hot seat. Well, there were the lessons, right? Yeah, there were very much good lessons that we drew from the city of Cape Town. In fact, city of Cape Town took and drew its lessons from the city of eThekwini, what we call Durban, in terms of the model of water mix that we had to introduce, in ensuring that, well, we call them cities, but they both, even both Cape Town and eThekwini, have got a mix of urban and a rural edge, which brings a bit of dynamism in them, because we have got the rural edges of the cities, where you'll use a communal connectivity system for water and even sanitation. And then you'll have the urban edge, where you also have door-to-door connections that are able to provide the system. And currently, about 75% of those in both cities who have been able to deal with the issues of connectivity. But one, it forced us to look into how our consumption levels, for starters, are they related to the global targets that have been set? But two, what is our investment? And which is why we found a weakness in terms of how do we invest and ring fence for both water and sanitation, in particular, as part of ensuring that the infrastructure is strong. But thirdly, the education and awareness in terms of the areas, either you have got a difficulty with sanitation or with the provision of water, in ensuring that it covers everybody else. But you also know that as we are part of the 30 countries in the world, as South Africa, where you have got difficulty of this natural resource in terms of use, but it improved on our collaboration in the SADC space, but also with our neighbors, on where will we draw water and partnerships, collaboration, which will ensure that we provide adequately and we create a strong water basket for everybody else. But obviously, then you will also look into the quality and also in the mix not only relying on the provision of the water, but also investing into the underground water to create this table of mixture, particularly in the rural edges of our cities and towns. And then we went down into the capacity of district municipalities and taken, for example, the example that has been given from Zambia, on how then do you make sure that you capacitate municipalities and the districts, as we call them ourselves as well, so that they are able from the bigger cities to learn on how to preserve, how to provide, but also how to make sure that the infrastructure is strong. I think let me end there for now.
Thank you. Let me ask you one last question in that round. What would have been your keyword as a, from our word cloud as an important precondition for success?
Well, I was going to touch on it in the other round. Financial investment.
Perfect.
That's
okay.
my keyword.
Yeah.
It can never happen. I brought a coin here.
That's not a rand.
Well,
That's
it
a big
is
euro, maybe. Or Kruger
Just
rand.
to emphasize this message, we were told what to bring something. For us, even whether it's a MIC, the significance and the importance of investment into infrastructure is what is key and what was my buzzword for the earlier
Perfect.
question.
We're coming back to that in a second. Thank you, dear Minister.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Engineer Maro is with us as well. And of course, from South Africa now, we are looking into Tanzania because Tanzania has set up an ambitious regulatory framework with some performance indicators. And maybe you can also share your experience in achieving these targets and the key performance indicators. Tell us a little bit more. What are these key performance indicators and what's important to keep an eye on?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. The key performance indicators are 12 in total. We have got 10 for water supply, and we've got 2 for sanitation. But the experience with the performance indicators, I can divide them in 2. Since we started regulating activities, we are now close to 20 years. We started in 2006. At the time we started, 2006, there was also the beginning of water sector development program, phase 1 and then phase 2. Now I can see the performance going hand in hand with the investment. That means we had a good performance indicators or improving of the targets of the utilities from 2007 to around 2017, whereby you had a steady improvement of the target. At that time, we had put up a business plan for the utility for 3 years. Now we have improved it to go hand in hand with the National Development Program, but also with the strategic plan for the utilities. Now it is going to be 5 years. This is also goes hand in hand with the multi-year tariff for the utilities. So now, beginning this coming financial year, it will be 5-year multi-year tariff that goes hand in hand with the business plan. The business plan are not meant only for the tariff, but also for their bankable business plan. They can attract investment in various financial institutions. And so there has been that improvement to 2017, improvement of the performance target. Thereafter, it's more steady or less, or up and down, not much improvement. And we were lucky, as a regulator, we've seen that trend. And then 2017, we approached GIZ, and then we had a study for public-private partnership in the water sector, meaning to attract private investment. Because our national water and sanitation policy talks about running the utility commercially so that it can attract private investment. But in the course of the regulation, we have not seen much of the private investment attracted. So we said, okay, let's have a look. We had a study, but also we had a guideline that we produced looking at the legal framework. Does it allow? Yes, it does allow. And so that's what I can say about the twofold.
But that's interesting because coming in with the creditworthiness of the utilities, what is a key factor that you have seen, and what is maybe also an advice from your perspective, coming from a regulatory perspective towards creditworthiness of utilities?
Okay, for the utility to be credit worth, I think there's one major part of building capacity. Capacity of the staff of the utilities, but also at the level of the ministry, whereby they should understand that this activity of providing water supply and sanitation services has to be done as it directed by the policy, commercially. It is not happening, though it is there in the policy. So the aspect here is the issue of capacity for them to be able to run this utility commercially. And this is very key because they are autonomous. They are independent, so to say, financial and administrative. So they are the business entities, so to say, but they are not really run as a business entity. I think it is because 100% they are owned by the government. And people are just get business as usual. They are part like of a department of the government. But when you look into the policy and you look at the regulatory framework, and the fact that they have a business plan which is enshrined in the Water Supply and Sanitation Act of 2019, which has been done with the revision of 2023, they are supposed to be run as a business entity. So this aspect go hand in hand with that of making these urban utilities creditworthiness. It's only that they lack that entrepreneurship skills of running the utilities commercially.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your perspective, of course. Turning to Sareen Malik, now bring in, of course, your perspective, as I mentioned earlier, the civil society perspective to the people, so to say. So maybe you can share us your perspective, what role can and must, of course, so the civil society play to push for affordable but also for sustainable wash services. What is a to-do list?
Is this on?
Yeah, you haven't broken it, no worries.
All right. So first of all, good morning to all of you, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Now, I think it would be really important to acknowledge the role of the German Development Corporation in the water sector and in the last 2 decades. Today we see the utility, but there was a mention over here of water and politics. And I think this is really important, that while the water sector was being restructured in many of our countries and very successful outputs and offshoots, whether the utilities, whether children, other children like civil society organizations, the politics was also being addressed through a number of the justice and legal type of programs. And the water sector, as it was moving in one direction, and these governance type of programs were moving in one direction, they met somewhere in the middle. And there sat civil society organizations, right between the two. And they acted as a courier between the two, between governance and water and sanitation. This then gave birth to what? At least in Kenya, the first paper, 2006, on the right to water and sanitation, which then was catalytic in seeing the Bill of Rights in 2010, 2016, the Act. Anywhere where you find the footprint of the German Development Corporation when it comes to water and sanitation, you will also find transformation in the overall democratic space. And this is really important to note. I truly admire Germany for, despite the changes in the financial landscape, in the aid landscape, now the word charity has become terrible to use, that you have maintained your resolve to see that, sanitation and water for all, access to water and sanitation still remains your core. And I wish other development partners had taken a leaf from your book in terms of adapting by launching programs like these ones, whereby, okay, talking about water from a social perspective, this is something we heard at the sector ministers meeting last week. The moment it's perceived to be social, it drops in the priority list. Now the narrative is to talk about it as an investment opportunity, and hopefully its profile would be raised. Now civil society. As I mentioned, we sit in between to make sure that the right to water and sanitation is respected, to make sure that those that are not seen are seen in the policies, in the practices, in the legislation. But there are two roles or three key roles that civil society plays and will play now under this new landscape or this new world order in the water and sanitation. It is not going to be about pipes. It never should have been, and it never was. When we were doing it, we were just doing it as a demonstration or in difficult situations, conflict type of situations. But it's going to be what civil society was meant to do from the get-go, which is number one, the identification of mischief, calling out mischief, and addressing mischief. So important, especially when we're talking about investments coming in. We do not look very good in terms of credit ratings. We're constantly talking about creditworthiness, de-risking, yet justice systems or judicial systems are not always robust. Who will sit over there and make sure that the oversight is taking place? And that is civil society. And that is why there must be a continuation in terms of the support of civil society. Do not see it as just something out there, making noise. Number two, yes, the noise-making part. The clarion call. Who's going to remind you that you need to respect the right to water and sanitation, you need to include women, you need to make sure, that money is not disappearing, promises made, promises kept to make sure that that is done. And number three, creating your demand. The demand. When there's a demand from the people through the right to water and sanitation, it is my right to have this water and this sanitation, your supply pipelines tend to open up. Investments tend to increase. So I think moving forward, let us look at civil society back in terms of its oversight, and you will need civil society to ensure that this catalytic funding is actually doing the work it was supposed to do, and that it's actually accounted for. Thank you.
Sareen, thank you so much. Last question to you, because you brought up this picture, that the civil society is in the middle of everything. What would be one wish, one priority to bring everybody together, that no one is outside or inside or an intermediary, Is there a possibility, a gap that you see that needs to be filled so that everybody comes together and speak not just about each other, but with each other?
I think because civil society has built a bit the skill set to navigate within
Which
various
is power as well, right?
various spheres. The sector in itself, and this is what we're saying, is that we as the water sector need to put ourselves at the center of development and of every other sector. And I think this is where civil society comes in to help pull the different players in and help place the water sector within their sectors. I mean by that, energy, food, all those 16 SDGs. We all know, and how cliche to say it, but let's say it, that water cuts across. But we are not seeing it enough. On the continent, for example, the treaties, the continental treaties for energy, have no mention of water. Did you know that? Quite fascinating, isn't it? And who is going to make sure that we are putting pressure on those that are in charge of product, because there's process and product, to make sure that the energy sector within their treaties, within their policies, actually reflect water. Same thing for the treaties on women. And in fact, Honorable, I'm coming to you for that. I already sent certain emails that the treaty on the protection of women's rights and dignity had every right. It even talked about widowhood. Beautifully written treaty within the AUC, except the one for water. How fascinating. So I think this is where we still require that support, because we can look at, help you. Civil society, like I said, should not be seen as, just some little player that must be included for tokenistic reasons. Remember where we sit. We sit right there in the middle.
Thank you for pointing that out again. Sareen Malik, thank you. But we need to talk about money again, sorry to say. So that's why I'm turning to you, Sitske. Let's talk a little bit more about the role of impact investment and the lever of local financial institutions when it comes to financing water utilities. Where do you see the biggest levers?
Thank you very much. And I'm honored to be here in this nice area. For me, impact investing vehicles and also financial institutions, local financial institutions, have a crucial role to play in financing the water sector. And especially in emerging markets, this role is urgently needed today. Because if you, as an investor, we look at water not only from a human perspective. Of course, that's very important, but also it is a very powerful driver of economic growth. And a study of water aid, as well as with McKinsey, they show that every dollar invested in the water sector yields up to 21 times its cost in economic returns, which is unbelievable. And what you see is that nevertheless, this fact, the sector is still very much under invested. And investors mainly look at other teams, and water and sanitation is not seen. Only 2.5% of the climate finance that was spent in 2023 was allocated to the water sector, which is incredibly small. And so the public funding and government aid cannot close this funding gap alone. And we really believe that we have to play a role in that and to attract institutional private capital. And we have to mobilize this. But we see two challenges to do that. First, we see that the utilities are not investment ready yet. Based on a study we did for KfW, we know that utilities around the world often struggle to access local capital and need support to increase their investability. They often depend a lot on public budgets and also development aid. And local banks hesitate to finance these utilities because of the perceived risk and also the lack of understanding of the business model of water utilities. And secondly, we see also at our end that water is a very low priority for institutional investors. They mainly focus on renewable energy or biodiversity. And in their view, water utilities are a very high risk. And they are looking for bankable projects with clear metrics, governance, and exit strategies. So it isn't a lack of capital or need, it's a lack of investable opportunities. And therefore, we believe that initiatives like the Urban Water Catalyst Facility are crucial and to improve, on the one hand, the credibility of the utilities and also to work together with institutional investors, of impact investors, as well as local banks to unlock capital, to strengthen utilities, and also to provide access to water for all.
Thank you, Sitske. Coming to Sabine, because you were nodding, and I think this speaks also to you. Do you share this experience? And also, when it comes to cooperation, you're representing German water utilities, and of course the partnerships with providers, and of course the cooperation in that regard. Do you see the same struggles?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, also thank you very much for all the input you have just given, and I can just really also completely agree with what you've said. And I think everybody has, like I've made a couple of notes already. I mean, you have said performance goes hand in hand with creditworthiness. You have said it's important. You've said, like, yes, we have the money, but we cannot give it out like that because we need to also show that it's really money well spent. And then there's also the aspect of mischief, which we should also not throw under the table because it is a big issue. I think the WOPs are a fantastic tool to address those. In German Water Partnership currently has, like, I think 30 WOPs. Please don't quote me completely on that. That's the number I've memorized. I could be off a little bit. And I also think we've heard from the partners from Zambia and also from Uganda, Dr. Rose. They have mentioned how instrumental they are in becoming more efficient. And more efficient means becoming more creditworthy. And that means I can be better in serving the people, but also in addressing the skills of the technical staff of the water utilities and the sanitation utilities. But not only, and this is also what I really liked, the civil society is instrumental because there's only so much the water utilities can do. They need the civil society also to bring the people they serve aboard. Because water is a sexy thing to talk about, if you allow me to say that, but nobody likes to talk about sanitation because that's not sexy, but it's so important. And this is a crucial aspect to have them bring aboard and then see what is important. You also need to pay for the services you get. You need to make the tariffs understandable for the people and accept them. Only then, if we have a holistic approach, we can solve this problem.
I could go on and on and on, but I'd like to be respectful with your time, but also, of course, with the time of our guests. So I'm coming already to the last round. But dear Minister, if you look around, women, water, and business and finance here on that stage, do we see kind of a trend here? Because I do see an almost all-female panel. Hang on.
So I'm the one who had switched it off because I thought I'm finicky.
So do we see a trend here maybe?
Yeah, well, I agree. I was saying to you that I was raised by my grandmother, and one of the best things she taught me is that you give it to a woman, it shall be done. And I can never emphasize the trend. The trend is going towards the deliverables, the inefficiencies. But ourselves, recognizing that we've got a role to play in building communities. And in fact, we must never run away from as women, ourselves as well, is that poverty is the face of a woman. Poor service delivery in a form of water and sanitation in the context of what we're talking about puts the woman at the center to bear the brunt. And if a woman can't carry it, she carries the girl child with her to perform that service of either fetching water, wood, and any other thing to get the home running. So we owe it to the liberation of a woman to give her time more in her hands by getting efficiencies into whatever that we need to do. So if we say there's human rights and there's dignity in the provision of water, actually that it's dedicated as a program to women. So I think how we harness the plans, the strategies, the financing, but the efficiency of delivering on what we need and want to do under the utilities, it will best serve humanity in its entirety.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And of course, you already showed us your object because we asked you kindly to, bring an object that connects to your vision for the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative Foundation. So I will switch directly to Sitske. What would be your object for the vision?
Well, I thought my bracelet can be a nice symbol. I can show you. A chain of multicolor where all the partners in the chain work together and are connected, from the civil society up to the investors
Beautiful.
that provide the capital.
Thank you. Sareen, what's your vision, but also your object, of course, that you brought with you?
I do not have an object. That they will
You didn't read the memo.
The memo came in. I did bring some tea for Fanny that I was going to expose over here. tea from Kenya, but exactly. But I think this is our last intervention.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. I think again the sorry.
The vision.
think
What is your vision for the
Look,
initiative?
I think for this Congress, which is, bless you for having this regularly, it is not easy actually having these kind of events anymore on a regular basis. It is really critical that the utilities have a very candid conversation amongst themselves, touching on things that, yes, you have your pipes, your tech, your this, your that, but you need to speak about your actual problems. Number one, a lot of you, any of you I ask over here, what is your biggest issue? You will answer political interference, isn't it? Yes? And that political interference doesn't just look like somewhere at the top. It looks like what I have seen many times, a member of parliament or somebody walking into your office and forcing you to give them the tender or to hire their nephew. So thus compromising your own integrity. So I think it's really critical that you talk about these issues and weave them into some of the solutions, the KPIs, the recommendations of these various programs. Tell them what is ailing you. Between your non-revenue water, what is the actual reason for it, and between the fact that sometimes, despite your best efforts, you cannot perform. And like I said, civil society, we're here to help. Thank you.
Sareen Malik with a big smile. Thank you. Engineer Morrow, what would be your... Maybe you haven't brought an object as well. That's not... Have you brought an object? Or do you have a vision? I see a big question mark.
I have a vision and I have an object with me here.
You read the memo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vision that I see, we have almost everything in place. Now, as a catalyst, the way the catalyst is to make things functioning. Because we have the law, very nice. We have independent utilities, but building capacity should be continuously. But now, to make things happening in a place where you can mobilize resources, okay, locally or internationally. We have a utility from Tanga. It has been able to mobilize a green bond, which oversubscribed by making use of what? Making use of the two tools that I said about the business planning, comprehensive business plan guideline, but also the guideline for PPP. And it has been marketed and float for people to get the bonds and oversubscribe. So what I see as a vision is most of the utility, after the catalyst has been working properly, the catalyst as it is in the chemical processes, the catalyst makes things happening faster than the usual pace is. And being a regulator, I see things where that far as a plane now at 24 feet, and now with the catalyst, I hope we are going down to where we can just see with our own eyes. Easily, I mean, from 24 feet now to 2 feet, we can see the object now going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Morrow. And last but not least, of course, your vision for the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative Foundation in the years to come, Sabine.
I don't have doesn't look very personal at the moment, but what is written in there is very personal to me. It's about building bridges, working together. I don't know if you can see it. It's the world hand in hand on different levels.
on ministerial level. Leadership, we've seen, is very important, but also the skills, but also the communities. And this is my vision, and I think the Urban Water Catalyst can work towards this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all of you. You're still here for a moment, so if the audience still have questions, they will approach you. Is that a deal? Of course, because we were running through the program, but this is your round of applause. Dear Minister Thembise Milane, Mr. Exaudi Fatelmaro, Ms. Sareen Malek, Sitzke Grönewold, and Sabine Siebler. Thank you very much. Yes. You can leave the stage. No, no worries, but you can also stay. We continue. No, don't worry. Don't just fall off the stage. Hang on, I make... Yes. Sorry. Thank you so much. And keep on going. Yes, okay. Now we continue quickly. I kindly invite State Secretary in the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development back on stage, Niels Annen. We heard a lot of things on the panel. What is one key takeaway, maybe something that is still echoing in your mind?
Well, I'm beginning to feel at home here at this podium, so thanks again. And I don't want to be too long because I think we have an important signing moment ahead of us, which is really exciting. But I wanted to thank the panelists, and I think what I don't want to comment everything they said because that would too much time, but we feel, if I may say, not only for me, but also for us in the ministry, we feel a sense of, I think, confirmation. We're heartened by this discussion because many years ago, and it's not something that I can reclaim for me personally, because there have been leaders before in our ministry who took a strategic decision to invest in the water sector. And that's sometimes the dilemma that we are facing within development cooperation, that you take a decision, but it takes time. It takes time to build partnerships. It takes time to get in touch, to build networks with civil society, with governments, with local governments. But very important, and I think the panel confirmed that, with the business sector as well. I first of all have to say thank you very much also to our friend from the private but also from the public sector, also for the feedback on BMZ's work. I think it's a motivation for our teams as well. I do have to say, because I have been a member of parliament for 15 years, and I can assure you I never walked into an office and asked somebody to hire my nephew, but I think what I'm taking from that panel is the technical is the base for success, the technical cooperation. And we have a discussion about development cooperation. It's a very politicized discussion right now in my country and many countries of the world. And I think you're all following that. So it's good to remind us that the base for development cooperation is the technical cooperation, bringing everybody together, strengthening the structures. But there's always a political level as well. And you have been mentioning that. And I think that's what we should continue doing, working with our partners, but using also the access that we have, the trust that have been built by you for many, many years. So thank you for that, to address also some of the critical and sometimes tricky political questions, which we cannot avoid. If you cannot avoid something, you should address it. So here we are. Thank you very much, and I'm very much looking forward to see the signing together with our partners, and we're looking forward for continuing that long-lasting partnership with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Niels Annen. Please join me here. And I also welcome now from the Executive Board of KfW, Ms. Christiane Leibach, to join us on stage. We also have Managing Director of GIZ, Ingrid Gabriela Hofen. And last but not least, Interim CEO of the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative Foundation, Adrian Mels. And this is your round of applause. And before we do the official mock signing in a second, of course, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, there's a little bit of coordination here in a second. Hang on. Here we go. Sorry for shouldering you, but don't take it personal, okay? Ms. Hofen, quickly before we do the signing, if you look back at the process of developing this initiative, what can you share as a learning? We start with you, Frau Hofen, and we go to you, Frau Leibach.
Well, I think what was quite crucial, actually, that this was a joint endeavor between various institutions, KfW, GIZ, our Dutch partners. And by doing so, actually, we could work in parallel, so we gained time. Because actually KfW was concentrating on getting the financial structure right. At the same time, GIZ and our Dutch partners, we started to select utilities, we run into the first exchange, we mobilized actually momentum. And by doing so, although it took us more or less 2 years, I still think if we would have worked not jointly, joining forces, it may have taken even more time. So this certainly is one first lessons learned. Secondly, I think it's important if you want to build something new that is so innovative, that you actually have a good experience what works and what doesn't. This was actually also what Mrs. Masudi said this morning. And we could bring together into this new structure and this new venture actually the type of experience gained over many, many years, especially in working in multi-stakeholder partnerships. We have to bring the civil society on board, but we have to bring the private sector on board as well. And of course, the WOPs in Germany and the WOPs in the Global South. And I think if we are, we were acquainted to do these things in a limited time span, and I think it paid off because now we have actually constructed a new venture that is embedded into experience from those many sectors, not simply from one or two WOPs or operating agencies. And I think this is going to make a difference, hopefully.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Ms. Leibach, of course, also we are interested in learning from you. What are your major learnings in building up that initiative, and what can flourish, of course, from these learnings going forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very glad to be here today. Yeah, I think we all felt at some point in time that it was really time for a paradigm shift, because we have been working in the past all separately, technical cooperation, financial cooperation. We have been working project by project. We have been working very much focused on funding single projects and discussing with governments and utilities these single projects. And I think the really, really paradigm shift is here, that we would, that the goal is really to work more result-based, to work more oriented on the objectives we all share, to work more catalytic, and really to make, to include the private sector. And that needs a very, very different approach. It needs an approach to work together, and it needs critical factors. And if I look at some of the critical factors we have already identified and already living, is like we looking at it from a result-based perspective. We have a competitive approach that utilities can apply for being included in the catalytic in our fund here. And I think these are already two very, very prominent things where things will be moving.
Wonderful. Adrienne, before we come to the official signing, a last question to you, because when we talk about the foundation now that is founded, what is your biggest hope for the foundation to be shaped, but to be designed for success, but above all also to be designed for the people? What's your biggest hope?
Well, my biggest hope is that this initiative, and I see it as a complementary initiative, will really help utilities to become much more independent, strong in gearing towards their own goals and their own faith. And I believe this Urban Water Catalyst initiative, through the journey that we've gone through, and I learned a lot about what we about that, but to become, if utilities are able to become credit worthy, to be to build reputation with financiers, I believe that utilities will be able in the future to go for loan funding themselves, which in the end will also require also the financial sector to step in, as we have heard during the discussion. And concretely, I believe that by 2031, we should have at least 25 utilities that have shown that they are creditworthy and are able to access loan funding. And I also hope that by that time we have expanded the family of funders that support the Urban Water Catalyst initiative.
The more, the merrier.
The more, the merrier.
So much. And now we start with the official signing. Dear State Secretary. Yeah, you're the first to sign. After you, Ms. Leibach. Then Ms. Hofen, and then Adrian Mels. So you can all take your selfies and your photos now. And of course, we do an official photo in a second as well. Wonderful. Thank you, State Secretary. Thank you. After now, Ms. Hofen. And Adrian Males. And then we do take one photograph in a second here at the front. Right? Yeah, can I get the photographer's briefing? Okay. Okay, please, for one more photo, I'll take the document. State Secretary, and please, I kindly ask you to stand in front of the table. Yes, please be careful. We don't want to have people falling down. Objects are still okay, but people are not okay to fall down today. Yes, you can. Okay, wonderful. A sound bed here. Hang on. Yeah. Okay, yeah, because we need some light, so maybe just guide you a little bit. Take one step back. And now this is the man of the hour with the biggest smile. 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, I think we have it, or the photographer is smiling, so I'm smiling back at you. Wonderful, thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, also in our live stream. Thank you to all the panelists. Thanks to all of you. Now, let's join, of course, also the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative technical session that is now following up from here. And please also do, of course, join now the opening. Niels Arnen is already on its way, because it's the opening of the German booth right now happening just after the event. Light snacks will be provided. So for that, it's all good. And I would like to close our session here with a quote that brings in a lot of voices that we've just heard. Thanks for all of your perspectives. But water can carve its way, even through stone, even through tough stone, as we all know. And when water is trapped, water makes its way, right? And with that, maybe we can all learn from water.